Okay, so on this sheet, we are going to calculate sales projections for the first year. And one of the first things that we need to do is we need to go to E1 right here, and we need to relabel with our unit of measure and average cost per unit. So what I suggest you do is you go to your business product menu or service menu, and what you need to do is you need to figure out a label for your unit of measurement, and you need to find the average cost, because we're not going to calculate for every single product or service you sell. Instead, we're going to find an average cost. So for my example here, I'm just going to focus on online subscribers. And I know that for my monthly subscription, I'm charging $15 a month. And for a yearly subscription, it's $168. So if I want to know how much that comes out to every month, 168 divided by 12 is $14. To find the average between these two numbers, I would do 14 plus 15 equals 29, and then to find average, you divide by the number of numbers you added together. So it was 2, and it would be 14.50. So that's my average cost. So I need to go back and relabel here, and I'm going to label this online subscribers. Average cost is $14.50 per subscriber. So now I have my unit of measurement and average cost, so that when we go and do math later on, we can figure out how much I have earned through online subscribers throughout the year. So now what we need to do is we need to make some sort of guesses, educated guesses, about how many units we think we would sell each month during our first year of business. And I find it to be really helpful to actually go to the months that I think I'm going to sell the most units first and fill those out, because every single business is probably going to have a season or a month or two out of the year where they will, sell more products or service. Now, because this is a Pilates business, I'm going to make an assumption that there are um, more people over the summer who are going to want to, work out. So I'm going to start with June, and I'm just going to pick a random number, and I'm going to make an estimate that around 81 people will be subscribed in the month of June. And then in July, I'm going to make a guess of 108, that I have some growth. August, 132. And then in September, I think there's going to be a little bit of a deduction, because people, it's the end of the summer, they go back to more normal work schedules. October, more of a deduction, 90. November, even more, about 77. And then December, 60. Now, January, we know people make lots of New Year's resolutions, and they want to get into fitness. So I'm going to make an estimate that in the month of January, maybe there's like 90 some odd subscribers. And then in February, maybe it tapers off a little bit, and it's like 77. Again, I'm just sort of making these numbers up. And then March, I'm going to keep that in like the 70s, because we're approaching spring break in April. Maybe that's like 80. And then in May, maybe we drop down to like 60 something. So again, I've just made sort of a guesstimate of these numbers based on times of the year when people typically exercise more. So now what we're going to do is we're going to total all of these units. So what we want to do is use Google Sheets to help us do math. So you can hit the equal sign and it might auto-populate all of these numbers up here for you, which if you were to just hit the enter button, it would count all of these numbers. Maybe your Google Sheets doesn't do that for you. So in case that doesn't happen, you would do equal sign and then you'd click 96 and then you'd have to add in the plus sign and you'd go through and you would select every single box and put a plus sign in between. And then you have everything, you hit enter, and it gives you your total. Okay? Now, the next thing that we need to calculate is our gross revenue, which if we look at our gross revenue down here, that is defined as all income from sales. And if you think back to what we did at the start, we found out the average cost of what we're selling, of the product or the service that we're selling. So to calculate gross revenue, we would take this number, our total units, and multiply it by the average cost. So again, equal sign, that starts your math equation so that Google Sheets knows that it's going to do math for you. You're going to select your total units number, and then you are going to add in the multiplication sign, which is the little asterisk star on number 8. So you need to do shift and 8. And then you're going to type in the amount of your average cost, which is 14.5. And you hit enter, and it gives you this number of your gross revenue, which is $15,167. You can always come up here and format as a currency so that you know. And that is exactly how you will calculate your total number of units and gross revenue. The next step is that we need to insert a bar graph to represent this data graphically. So to do that, you're going to come up here and you're going to click on month. You're then going to click and drag. Oopsies, I did that wrong. What you're actually going to do is you're going to click on month and immediately start dragging down to December and make sure that you're including the total units. So just columns D and E are selected down to 13. Only this is selected. You're then going to go over to insert and you're going to select chart. Google Sheets is going to pick a chart for you. You want to make sure that you go over here and you change it to a column chart. You can then, resize it and move it over here. And now we can see how your product or service is being sold throughout the year on this graph. Please be sure that you do actually select the month and your units and average cost so that it's included, because otherwise it will be unclear as to what this graph is. And that is how you complete these steps. I do want to just go back for average cost here. If you wanted Google Sheets to help you calculate average cost, you could just come over here to any other cell and go through the same process that we've done over here. But again, if you remember, Miss Sheft knows that 15 is one of her costs per month, and then she had to figure out how much the yearly subscription factored out to every single month, which was $14. So to find average of those two numbers, I would do equal sign 15, sorry, actually I have to do equal sign parentheses 15 plus 14, and then I need to divide by 2. That is how you find average, and it would be 1450. Let's say I was going to also, maybe I wanted to calculate how much I would make for in-persons just for private and semi-private for the cost of these two, which maybe you can do the math in your head. But again, to find the average, I would do equal sign parentheses 100 plus 150 divided by 2, and that gives me 125. So if you had, a list of a food menu of food and beverages, you would add all of them up and count how many numbers or items you're adding up together, and that's what you would divide by so that you can find average.